Once upon a time, in a small village called Akem, there lived two sisters called Nancy and Grace. Nancy was very beautiful and blessed with a beautiful voice as well, while Grace wasn't as beautiful as her sister Nancy. The reason was because when Grace was a child, she was involved in a domestic accident where hot oil splashed on her face, leaving her with a nasty scar on her face, which wasn't pleasant to look at. Everyone loved and admired Nancy, but Grace, who was the younger sister, was usually ignored. They were sisters, but as time went on, Nancy became very proud and arrogant because of the constant praises from men in the village. She stopped going out with her sister and was ashamed to be seen anywhere with Grace. However, Grace knew the reason why Nancy kept her distance, and it hurt her so much. But eventually, she learned how to enjoy her own company. Her parents didn't make things easier, because whenever a guest or a suitor visited them, they would always tell Grace to go inside and stay hidden until their guests left. Almost every night, Grace would cry her eyes out and beg God to take her life. She was ashamed to look at the mirror because of how she looked. Grace lived as a maid at home because her parents would prefer to send her on errands rather than send her elder sister, Nancy. One day, Grace went to fetch some water at the village stream. On her way back home, she saw an old woman on the path which led to her house. The old woman looked very tired as she sat down by the roadside with a big pot of water by her side. Grace greeted the woman and walked past her, but she felt sorry for the old woman and so she turned around. Grace kept her own pot of water safely hidden beside a big tree and offered to help the woman carry her own water. The woman thanked Grace for her generosity and kindness and stood up to lead Grace to where she lived. She was very old and couldn't walk without a stick. And this made Grace wonder how the old woman carried the big pot of water all by herself to where she had previously met her. But Grace didn't say anything. She followed the old woman patiently with the pot of water on her head. They walked and walked until they got to an isolated hut in the forest. When they arrived at the hut, Grace kept the pot of water for the old woman. But as soon as she was about to leave, the old woman said to her, "You have a very good heart. Many people saw me stranded by the roadside, but none of them came to my aid. Because of your kindness, I would grant your deepest heart desire." The old woman gave Grace a special cream wrapped in a rare leaf. "Take this cream. It is a magical cream made from a blend of many special herbs. Apply it on your face when you want to go out and you look beautiful as the morning sun. Any man you kiss on the lips with this cream on your face would forever see you as a star." Grace collected the magical cream and thanked the woman. When she got home, she hid it in the roof of her room. But she was scared of using it because she didn't know the old woman. A lot of men were attracted to Nancy. They would buy her all sorts of gifts and jewelries just to impress her and win her heart. But Nancy refused to settle down with any of them. She enjoyed being chased and wanted to continue enjoying the benefits of being chased. One day, a very handsome and wealthy man came for Nancy's hand in marriage. He had brought with him a lot of gifts and provisions. As they sat in the compound, discussing the marriage plans, Grace showed up. She was previously sent to the market to get some things, and she had no idea that there would be visitors in the compound. Immediately Nancy saw her. She screamed at Grace in anger.
"You ugly thing! Why do you want to spoil this beautiful day of mine with your ugly face?"
Everyone looked at Grace and started laughing. She couldn't bear the shame, so she ran into her room and started crying bitterly. While she was crying, she looked up and remembered the magical cream which the old woman had given her weeks ago. Without thinking twice, she took the cream and rubbed a bit of it on her face. Immediately she finished applying the cream, she felt a strange aura of confidence, but she was still deeply hot, so she fell asleep. The next day, Grace woke up and went into the forest to fetch some firewood as usual. On her way to the forest, she found it very strange that all men that she passed were looking at her. It made her very uncomfortable, and she felt something must be wrong with her face. Before, people didn't look at her twice, but now, everyone was so focused on her. She wanted to run back home, but she knew what to expect if she didn't return home with some firewood. So she continued her journey into the forest. After fetching the firewood, she tried to lift it up on her head when a very handsome man showed up out of nowhere. His name was Chike.
"Let me help you."
Grace was shocked because this would be the first time that anyone would talk to her or offer assistance to her.
"Are you talking to me?"
Grace asked, surprised.
"Of course. Why would an angel like you be carrying such a heavy load all by yourself?"
"An angel? Me?"
"Or should I call you a goddess instead? Your beauty is none like I've ever seen before."
Grace couldn't believe her ears. It would be the first time that anyone would tell her that she's beautiful. She watched as Chike carried the firewood on his shoulder, and she led the way to her house. While they walked, Chike told Grace that he liked her and would love to know her more. Grace felt like she was dreaming. Even the worst man in the village avoided her. Yet, Chike was here, asking her to be his lover. When they arrived at her compound, Nancy was seated outside the house. She watched closely as Chike kept the firewood beside the fire stand. Before Chike left, he hugged Grace and kissed her on the forehead. When Nancy saw this, she became very jealous. Despite the fact that she had all the men in the village running after her, she felt jealous and envious that Chike, just one man, was interested in her sister. Nancy went to meet Grace and started asking her where and how she knew Chike, but Grace ignored her, and this made her even more angry. When Grace entered her room, she remembered the cream the old woman gave her, and when she rubbed it, she then realized that the cream must be the reason why all the men were attracted to her. The next day, Grace rubbed the cream again before she went to the stream to fetch some water, and met Chike waiting for her already. "I knew you'd come here, so I waited for you. Let me help you with the water." As time went on, Grace grew fonder and fonder of Chike. He was a very nice and caring man, but Grace was scared. She wasn't sure if Chike loved her because of the supernatural beauty which the magical cream gave her, or because of her personality. Meanwhile, Nancy was driven by hatred and jealousy that Chike was always around Grace. Despite the fact that she had many men running after her, and that she could get any man she wanted with her beauty, Nancy vowed to snatch Chike away from Grace. The next time Chike accompanied Grace from the market, Nancy moved closer to him and started trying to seduce him. Chike was not enticed at all. He was not moved by her actions.
Leave that ugly girl and take me. I promise I would make you happy. What would it take to win your heart? Tell me, I would do it.
But Chike insisted that Grace was the woman he wanted. Whenever Nancy looked at her sister Grace, the nasty scars were there. But whenever any man looked at her, they saw a very beautiful lady, even more prettier than Nancy. Nancy was driven by frustration, so one day she decided to monitor Grace. She was convinced that Grace was up to something. That was the only way she could explain why all men who disliked her before suddenly wanted her. That morning, Nancy got up very early and stayed at Grace's window, peeping through to see what Grace would do. She watched as Grace unsuspectedly took the cream from where she hid it and rubbed it on her face. Then she observed where Grace hid the cream. When Grace left for the forest to fetch firewood, Nancy sneaked into her room and took the cream. She thought that the cream must be the reason why all men in the village suddenly loved Grace. So she rubbed some of the cream on her face as well. But immediately she rubbed the cream on her face, she started feeling a burning sensation on her face. It started getting hot and hotter by each passing minute, that Nancy quickly ran to wash her face when the pain was becoming unbearable. When her parents saw her, they were shocked to see her face. The cream she rubbed had completely destroyed her face, that she looked worse than Grace. When Grace returned from the market with Chike as usual, she couldn't believe her eyes when she saw her elder sister, Nancy. Her face was so red and discolored and very burnt. Immediately Nancy saw Grace, she started pleading for her forgiveness.
Please forgive me. I'm deeply sorry for what I did to you. Please forgive me.
Grace didn't understand why Nancy was apologizing. She knew Nancy to be very arrogant and proud, so it came as a shock.
What did you do? I've always made peace with the way you treated me, and I still love you. Even though you treat me harshly, I still love you.
Nancy started weeping seriously. She held Grace's hand and told her that she had a confession to make. Nancy told Grace and her parents that when they were still little, her parents had loved and cherished her so much. They gave her anything she wanted because she was their only child, and they made her feel very loved. But when they gave birth to Grace, It was like they shifted all the love and attention to Grace and stopped caring about her. Grace was more beautiful than she was when she was a child, so everyone focused more on Grace than they focused on her. This made Nancy very jealous. So out of envy, Nancy placed a pan of hot oil on top of the cupboard, and then she told Grace to go and bring it, knowing fully well that Grace was little and that the hot oil would pour on her. Nancy confessed that she did it on purpose so that she would be the only beautiful daughter and everyone would stop treating Grace special. They were all shocked at Nancy's confession. Her parents were disappointed in her, but Grace told her that she had forgiven her since it was in the past. All the men in the village avoided Nancy because of how burnt her face was. And after hearing what she did to her own sister, they disliked her. Nancy lived in pain for the rest of her lives and in regrets. Grace got married to Chike, and after Chike kissed her, she had no need for the cream anymore. They had beautiful children and they both lived happily ever after. The moral lesson of this story is that you must learn to balance love between your children. Do not favor one over the other. Show each and every one of them equal love and don't make anyone your favorite, because doing this would only create hatred between them and eventually bring division. Always be good, even to strangers, because you don't know where your help might come from. Beauty is like a flower that fades quickly. If you find someone that worships and loves and adores you genuinely, stick to that person and overcome the arrogance and pride that comes with being wanted by so many people. Thank you so much for watching, and please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this story, give it a thumbs up, comment and share. Thank you and God bless you.